All right. Hello.
Hello,
Hi,
hello.
Kim. How are you, lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
What's been
So
going
what's
on today?
nothing, same old for me. Starting my day off in my garden. Today I planted I'm so excited. I planted 6 more plants of cucumbers and 9 plants of green beans.
Oh, wow. Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah,
we're gonna say welcome back because we didn't say welcome back. Welcome back, family, friends, followers. Thank you for coming back.
absolutely.
hmm
All right, so Kim, what you want to start with today? Oh, well,
So,
wait a minute. What did you do today?
oh, I had a light day. A light day, just a resting. Just a light day. Nothing really.
Cousins gone back home now or are they still visiting?
They're still here,
Okay.
but they're out visiting others.
Gotcha. All right.
So I
Gotcha.
feel like yeah, yeah. So it wasn't too much going on with me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Had a good day, good peaceful day.
Oh, good. So is
hmm
there anything that comes to mind that you wanted to kind of tap into?
just talk about what we left off on yesterday.
Girl, help me with my bad mind.
Should we allow the little ones to have a voice, or we let them have a voice?
Ooh, okay. That's how did I forget that?
Mhm.
Told you, girl, I was tired after I got out that heat this morning.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I do believe that after, quite a few mistakes myself, that
hmm
it's good to give your children a voice and not have them so robotic because they won't be able to express themselves, right? I just
mm
think the tone when they're voicing their opinion um, is important. So that's something that I discuss with my baby now, just making sure that even though his emotions may have him all over the place, his
hmm
delivery is important. But yeah. So what about you?
Um, everyone have an opinion, and my opinion is that I think we should allow. I mean, it's a balance. We should allow children to have their voices heard. They have feelings. They're little people. It could be a
Yep.
balance. We can be listening and leading at the same time,
Yeah.
coexisting, both listening
Hmm.
and leading it. But we have to ask ourselves these things: Are we allowing a safe space? Are we listening?
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah. Because I
So.
think a lot of parents just want to have the children just do what they say, probably without having to explain a lot, right?
And and why do you think that?
And I was about to say, and I think that could be tied to maybe they're tired. You have a lot of single parent homes, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of the single parents, I think they could be so exhausted from work. A lot of the children are in sports or some type of program, right? Let's say extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're in a single home, and especially if you have multiple children, you could be exhausted by the time you get home. Now you're starting dinner. They should be, excuse me, getting ready to take their baths and stuff like that. And if you have multiple children, you still have to try to find the time to entertain each one
Right. Right.
individually.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So I think that could tie into a lot of just do what I say, let's not discuss it type thing.
Mm-hmm.
When the truth is, you're going to have to try to balance it. And I think that could be one of the reasons um, why it's being done.
Right. So I think my opinion is that like we the way you were raised, sometimes you that spills over in your adult life with your kids. So
Hmm.
raise them in that the way you were raised. So the way you were raised where it was, you keep quiet, you do as I say, don't do this or whatever I say, I'm the dominant. So
Yep.
we kind of take that with us as an adult. Whatever you get, I read this book from Joyce Myers. A child, when you're raising children, whatever you do, the children they do it as well as they grow. So if raising our children, if we were instilling into them, don't you can't say anything, you can't do anything. I think now that's what's happening. The same thing, like it may be a balance, it may be 50-50. I'll just say 50% of people still are saying, you say, don't say anything, you better not say this, don't you cry, shut up, do this. No. So I,
Mm.
I still feel like it's 50-50. Like 50% of people are still that way versus letting kids have a voice.
But it's
Now,
turning around, is what you think, though.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that some people won't let kids have a voice because in sometimes kids are disrespectful when you let them have a voice. So you can have a voice, but not being disrespectful with it.
Right. And then that's why I was saying, like the tone, watch
Right.
your emotions, right? You can
Right.
express how you feel. And
Hmm.
that's why I said I think it's just from exhaustion, because that takes the parenting part now, right? So the parenting in you have to step up and
Hmm.
sit down and talk to that child versus just do what I say. It's easier, it's quicker, right? So I
Hmm.
think it's the exhaustion of having so much, like you tapped into yesterday, having so much on your plate as a single parent, right? So
Hmm.
maybe it was the day
But
before where
that
you were
matter?
saying something. Hmm?
Should that matter? Should that matter if you
Yes,
have
it
so much?
should, because it matters, but I think it has to be addressed because you don't want to dismiss what these single parent is actually dealing with, right? So it matters.
Hmm.
Although it does matter, I think it can be a teachable moment in talking to the parents and letting them know, yes, acknowledge you are exhausted, but at the same time, you still have to parent
You
properly,
still have to
right?
parent. That's right.
Because with my oldest, right, I remember he was 26, I think. No, 27. And he came to visit me. And we was having conversations, and it seemed like he didn't want to express himself. He would always stop and he'd be like, "No, you my mom." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You can express yourself." I'm like, "You're grown, I'm not saying trying to raise you and tell you got thoughts, opinions. Say what you need to say. Just be
Hmm.
respectful. I want you to be able to say how you feel. And
Right.
as your mother, I want to know as an adult, what's your thought process as a grown man?" And he's just like, no,
But
it's so hard for him because
did you give
again,
him that?
like I said,
Did you give him
huh?
that opportunity? Did you give him that opportunity when he was growing up?
No, that's what I was getting to.
Okay.
I remember I said that before. My
Mm-hmm.
oldest got the worst. That's what I was saying.
Mm-hmm.
He got the
Mm-hmm.
worst of it. So unfortunately, he really got remember I told you it was, I mean, at 4, he was being taught when you get home from the bus for pre-K, put your book bag up. This where your coat goes. This where your shoes go. And I remember my mom saying, Latrice, he's a baby. You get him too much. I said, he needs structure, right? And honestly, what I was trying to do, if you look at our family, I'm not the youngest granddaughter, but I was the last one to get my first child.
Right.
So I also had friends who, um, what do you say? I had friends who sisters had already had children. So I was looking at, okay, my parents, how they raised us, my grandmother, right, on my mom's side, and also taking into account my cousins who already had children. And there were things I wanted to take from them, and then there was things I didn't want to take from them, right? So I decided when he started school, there was going to be some structure on to make it easier, to be honest, for me. When I look back at it, it was what was going to make it easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what came with that was that too tough, too rough, right? And my mom was letting me know, but child, I just thought I was gonna, we're gonna make this easy for this family. And lo and behold, at 26, 27, he didn't really want to express himself, not about being disrespectful. He didn't want to disagree with his mom. And I said, you have every right to disagree,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crazy that I had to tell him that
So
at that age.
now, so now they're grown and you have a baby now. So
Mhm.
so you've grown and this baby is the baby. So now he's learning to have a voice. So when he's
My last
sharing,
three, it was my first two didn't get a voice. My last three, that's the 19, 16, and the 6-year-old. They do have the voice.
right.
Yeah.
So you being a parent, because sometimes we are not um, present. So when he's
Mm.
sharing, are you always present? Are you always listening to him? Or are you distracted and in some type of way? Or
The
does
term
he?
always, I don't think there'll ever be always, but majority of the time, yes. But I started that years ago. I did that correcting years ago, right?
Right.
Um, as far as because what I realized was that, okay, at the time I had 4 children. Each
Mm-hmm.
child still need my undivided attention. So I did
Right.
that. That wasn't an issue for me. Um, but it was for me, it was the military dress right dress, do what I say. Wait a minute. The
Mm-hmm.
roughness, you know. But I was also thinking at the time I was trying to manage both roles when I didn't have to. I really didn't have to.
That was
And
my next.
I think that it was just I thought because I was divorced and he wasn't in the home that I had to be strict, more
Mm-hmm.
strict, I guess. But I really
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to because they had their father in their life. You see what I'm saying? So I made the mistake of that, of taking on something that I didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
What
So
about you?
I think you should. Most parents should let children have voices. So do you think that that's happening, or do you think period? Are we letting the little ones have voices? I mean, you are, but around you, I know it's hard to
Well, no,
say.
it's just so right now I don't have any friends with little kids.
Mhm.
I'm the only one with the little kid.
Have friends, like just being around people in the
Uh-huh.
world, really in the world, but around people, around different situations, around different circumstances.
Right now I'm not around anyone with children. I can't answer that.
So
What
you
about
can't.
you? Mm-mm,
So yeah,
I can't.
I see a lot. I still see it. I still see where um, some parents are not letting the kid have voices, or even if they are letting them have voices, they're distracted and really not listening to the voice.
Ooh, what do you mean by that? Can you kind of elaborate? They're distracted while they're having the
Like
conversation?
kind of like distracted. Maybe something's going on with them,
Mm.
maybe mentally or something. But the
Yeah.
child is communicating, having
Mhm.
a voice of what they feel
Mhm.
or how they feel, how they're feeling, or they don't want this, or they might not like this, but you are distracted in some kind of way. You're not really paying attention or communicating with the child. I do
Ooh.
see that. See, you
Gotcha.
don't see a lot because you're not around. That's why I tell you, take a
Yep.
perspective and see
Mhm.
what you see. and then see, how do you feel? That's why I asked you, what is your opinion on it? What's your view? Because it's a lot
I
of
don't
opinions.
have one because
A lot of views.
I don't, for one, I'm not around. Um, I'm a introvert, kind of,
Mhm.
sorta. So I'm not
Mhm.
around people. So that's something I really can't even. I don't
So what do
know.
you feel about, what do you feel about, don't tell what's going on in our home, be quiet, shut your mouth?
To a certain extent, I think it depends on who they're conversing with, what it's
Hmm.
about. So
Hmm.
this is what I taught my children when they would go to their father's house, right? When you go to your daddy's house, don't tell them my business. When you come back, when they would come back from their dad's house and they get to talking, don't tell me what's going on in their house. That's how I feel. Now, unless there's some type of abuse, we're talking about general conversation. So that's what my children were taught, that you don't go from house to house discussing people's business. If there
And
is something wrong, that's something totally different. And that's why I said I think it depends on
and what's
what.
your definition of business?
Let's say they're arguing, they're having a disagreement, right? Because their dads are married, right? So they're just something going on in the house that ain't none of my business. That's what I mean. That's not my
Okay.
business if there's something personal like that going on. That's
What,
what I mean. I let the father handle their house and I handle my house. Just
well,
that's
okay.
what I meant.
So what if it's bothering the kid? You saying don't tell the business. You just using an example. If there's an argument and the kid
Mhm.
is telling you and it's bothering the kids, but you're telling the kid, don't tell me nothing
Mm-mm,
going on.
because so the example that I'm giving, it wasn't that it was anything that was bothering me. He was gossiping. See, there's you got to. I
Yeah.
like to read rooms, so
Uh-huh.
I can't give a scenario off of something that didn't exist. That's why I said it depends on what it is. My child was gossiping, honey, and so
Mhm.
that's totally different. But
Okay.
something
It
that I
is.
also taught them was your father is someone you have to be able to talk to, just like with
Right.
me. Like my 6-year-old, he comes to me because he's 6 right now for everything, right? Even when he got a gripe about daddy, I'm like, listen, you have to express yourself to your daddy. You have to be able to still talk to daddy when you're thinking you're in trouble, right? And he's like, no, I don't want to talk to daddy. I'm like, you
And
have a
why you
voice.
saying that?
Why he's saying what? Because if any
No.
child, when the parent is mad at them, they don't want to, like if I'm mad at him, my son, girl, let me tell you something. If I'm mad at my baby, he gonna go in his room, he gonna look back at me, and he gonna go in his room. I'm like, come here. And he'd be like, he get in his feelings. And so I'll be like, come here, boy, and I love on him again.
You're a
Um,
nurturer. A
yeah,
woman is a
absolutely.
nurturer.
Yeah. And some men are too. My dad was a nurturer. So I don't believe in the whole. I know you say it a lot. I don't believe in the gender specific on that because girl,
I
my daddy is
know what
a
the word say.
nurturer. My
He
mother
is.
was the rah rah. So
We're
but that again,
going
that
back.
ties into why I
Yeah.
don't believe in the whole one-sided thing.
And I'm saying that because the Bible says women. He didn't say anything about a man was a nurturer. He said a man was a
Girl, the
provider.
Bible say a lot of stuff. All of it ain't 100%. My dad's a
Okay, so
nurturer.
okay.
We're
Yeah,
not gonna exclude my father.
we're gonna go with that. We're
Wait a
gonna
minute,
go with
Kim.
that.
Look,
Okay.
to this day, I have to be like, Daddy, I'm not 12. I am 48. Because he lived with me. I'd be like, what do you think I've done when you weren't around? He'd be like, I
Mhm.
know. I'm like, this soft-hearted man.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
now you grown. He's aware that he's letting you voice your opinion as an adult.
But my dad always let us voice our opinion. It was
He
my
did.
mama. See, that's what I'm saying. In my house, it was
Opposite.
different. Yeah, my mom, child. Where you think I got the cursing from? I'm working on that to this day. But no, they had opposite roles in that baby.
And I'm wondering why, because the mother is a nurturer. I'm wondering why the roles were reversed.
How I think it was how my mom was. So I think so, and this is why people have to pay attention to their own household and
Hmm.
adjust accordingly, right? And I think my dad did that. My mom's background, just like everybody's, thing of growing up, creates who they are. Her childhood molded her into who she was. That's all it was. And my
Hmm.
father, he adjusted off of that. he was able to, as I like to say, read the room. So, and that's what he did. So my mom, she was, yeah, she was a little baby.
And
Her
that's what I
nickname was
said.
Old Yeller. We used to say Old Yeller by my mama, honey. So yeah,
And
they
that's
rose
what
us
I
different.
said. We were molded into what we were, because I'm
Hmm.
not what I was. What
Hmm.
we were molded into that. So that spilled over into our adult life with our kids, and we mold
Hmm.
them the way we were molded. But
Somewhat
like you
right, and then everybody makes some type of adjustments. Yeah,
that was your, like you say, that was your first two, three. So after that, you've grown, and that, I think that's how life goes. After the first,
yeah.
second child, third child, okay, you look at the commercial. You grown now. You
Hmm.
remember the commercial where she had the first baby and you couldn't touch it, had wipes,
Oh yeah,
Lysol. After
yes,
that
honey.
second,
Yes,
third
honey.
child, she was giving them to the mechanic.
Slanging, doing everything. Yeah,
So I think it
absolutely.
comes with growth
Yeah,
and growing with your
absolutely.
kid. And so that's why I think we should let them have voices, because we learn from kids. Children are our future.
And see, and and that's where I think the older parents like us now have to teach that to our children,
Mhm.
because if you think about it, I know my parents was telling me, "Oh, don't be so hard on them babies," right?
Mhm.
Because they had now gotten older.
That's right.
So
And I'm
we
like
just
that
doing the
now.
same thing. Yeah, we're
Yes.
doing the same thing.
And I'm like that now. That's why I'm so like, let them speak, but I didn't let them speak. You better not be crying. And I'd be like, let them cry.
Yep.
Let them get it out.
Yes.
They was like, Mom, you didn't ever let us do any of this, but
Yeah.
let you know kids, because growth, growth.
Yep.
Thank God for Jesus. What I
And
missed, He
yeah.
took care of.
Yeah. And so you got to remember that your children are going to need growth. They need time to
Right.
grow. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and I have compassion, and I know that. So I let them
Mhm.
have time to grow, and I do my part and to make sure that they are aware that let the babies have voices, and it's okay. I made a mistake growing up. I mean, you raising
Yes.
you, not letting you
Mhm.
have a voice, but don't
Mhm.
make the mistake that I had, not letting you having a voice with your
Mhm.
kids. Hear
And that's the
them.
beauty. And that's the beauty of life. You
Hmm.
know, when
Hmm.
the parents, cuz not all of us do that, right? But when the parent can evolve and then break that down to their children and help them, each generation gets better. And that's what
Hmm.
it's about. Not saying, "Oh, I was the perfect parent," or "You better be this perfect child," or "You better make sure my grandchildren are perfect." It's about ensuring that the next generation continues to do better. Your
Do better.
bloodline grows beautifully, and that's long as the parent is able to get some wisdom, not drugged out, not alcoholic, that stuff
Right.
makes a difference. That you
It
can
makes,
pass that down as a grandparent, you know.
yeah,
Family is a beautiful thing.
it's a beautiful thing,
Yeah.
and and it'd be great if family would listen, but everyone have an
You
opinion.
mean if they would listen?
Like
What do you mean?
not say. I'm just saying, like, if we would all listen to each other and to know that we mean good for each other, because we
No.
don't.
Eh, so
Yeah.
here's my experience with family. I don't recall having conversations with family, and I'm talking about cousins, right? Aunts, uncles, where nieces and nephews, where it's combative and they're not listening, right? Um, because I do think that as long as you're talking, it's going in. It doesn't mean they're gonna move immediately on it, right? So when you
Right.
say that families, I think family, I just haven't had
Yeah.
an issue with family
And
not
when
listening
you're
or
talking, they hear you, but they don't.
Mhm.
It's family, not even family, just people in general. When you're
But they
talking,
hear
and
you. They
yeah,
hear
they hear
you.
you, but they go back and sometimes like we hear you, but that's it. It's just
But it
nothing. It's
takes time, Kim.
yeah,
It's
I
not
hear you. I hear you.
overnight.
I know it's not
The
overnight.
positive spin of it
No,
is they did hear you. They may even think they didn't, but they heard you. And sometimes it's going to take years down the road. And they don't always remember where it came from, but they heard it. So
Mm-hmm.
people are listening. Sometimes they don't think they are, or you may not think, like with our children. Well, I don't think that because I always knew that. Because even with my parents, honey, I remember sometimes I was go in my room and I'll play some of that stuff back. But I guarantee you, my parents thought I wasn't listening.
Yeah,
You know, so
I
I
know.
I I I do believe it's getting heard. There's just
It,
not. It's
I
not an
believe it.
immediate reaction to it.
I believe it because my daughter is way over 30. Not way,
Hmm.
way, way, way over, but she's
Yeah,
over
some
30.
way
And
over.
when she was a teenager or
Mhm.
whatever, and we were talking about life or whatever, she would like, Mama, you gotta trust me. You gotta trust me. I
Yep.
heard what you were saying. And
Mhm.
if I do something, whatever, it's always what you said in my head. She was
Mhm.
telling me that
Yeah.
I hear you. You might not think I hear you, but I hear you.
Mhm.
So you
Because
have
I
to
think as
trust.
parents, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying. She said you would have to just trust that I hear
Right.
you. You have to
Because
trust.
I think as parents, we want to just save you from making all these mistakes. But the beauty of
Mhm,
life, prayerfully, that it doesn't take you out, right? Doesn't send you to jail, cause you to harm anyone. The mistakes that you're making, right? With
mhm.
intention is what I'm saying,
Right,
like intentional harm. Is
right.
that they're gonna grow from it. It's gonna be a testimony, baby. You can't have a testimony without a test. So they
I
should be
know.
allowed to have a mistake. You should
Yeah.
trust God's this my just my thinking. Trust God's process with
Mhm,
your children. He only used you to get them here. You have to trust, meaning all of us parents, trust whatever the assignment that God has for them that they'll get there. We always stay in parent mode. And as they get
mhm,
older, treat them as an adult. But we're always talking to them. We're always pushing wisdom because we don't
mhm.
know when they're going to use it. They may not use it till it comes till their children. You see what I'm saying? So I don't believe everything is an immediate correction. Boom, I got it. Oh, I hear you, and I go do the right thing. That's we want that, but that's not
Yeah,
life.
it's not.
you know?
So,
Yeah.
so what can we give the people? What can we say to the people to help them create a supportive environment? So kids can um share their
Be heard.
feelings
Yeah,
voice, their
be heard.
hurt, the
Mhm.
concerns. What kind of words can we give?
So what I think is with our podcast, I think we'll always have open conversations like this.
Mhm,
And what happens is once something is heard a lot of times over and over again, people start to
mhm,
change. I just think the conversation has to be made,
mhm,
and I don't think it's particular words. We just got to have the conversation about
mhm.
letting the babies feel comfortable, just teaching them, actually parenting to ensure that they speak
That's
and you're
right.
listening, that you take a moment just to listen. It don't have to be a full hour.
That's right.
Give them
I,
some time
I
and
would say
then move
that
on.
then I
Hmm?
would say if a little one come to you and they want to voice their feelings or concerns or joy or something, I say address it at that point, right there, and address it right there. Let them right there. Don't wait hours later and address it right at that moment, and it won't take
Um,
forever. You don't think so?
no, because
You don't.
sometimes there's so much going on in people's lives.
Mhm.
And if a baby come to you and they're trying to express something, you may give the wrong information because you're not in the right headspace. So I don't think you
Yeah, but
have to address it at that moment. I think you should acknowledge them and say, "Ooh, we should talk about this." Boom, 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 boom. You see what I'm saying? I
yeah,
don't think you should necessarily dive into something immediately because a child is going through something. I think that
yeah.
for
I think
one
you should
is
address
disaster. Huh?
it and let them know. I think you should address it to let them know, like, yeah, this is. I hear your concerns or your joys or your feelings. And if I'm not able to deliver at that time, I will give them something to hold on to.
Well, I mean, that's easier. Again, that's easier said because there are some parents who work from home, right? So let's. So there are some parents who work from home and they have little ones, and
Mm-hmm. Hello? Did you go out? Well, people, I don't know if she went out, but we're getting ready to wrap up anyway. I hope something was heard that would change your mind um, about letting the little one speak. So again, I want to say thank you for coming to listen to us tonight, and hope to see or hear from you, or just hope to hope to see you in our live on tomorrow. Have a good night.